it aside, glad it hadn't broken. Jux and Mabiki. None of the others would tell her their names. Jux had explained it. Only the king's guards and magistrates had ever wanted to know. It scared them. Sadima wiped her slate and drew another symbol. She held it up and the boys started over. At first, they had jostled and argued. It had been hard to make them sit still for their lessons. Now they barely spoke, barely moved. They had come from hard lives. They were street orphans. It hurt Sadima to imagine that. No warm suppers, no one ever looking out for them. She was sure none of them had ever held so much as a lump of charcoal to draw a game of jump and stop on a boardwalk. Still, somehow, Somas expected them to learn to fair copy. Jux was looking at his slate, correcting a line. He was the only one who could draw the gypsy symbols accurately, and he was by far the fastest at Fahrenheit's letters. Sadima smiled at him again, and he smiled back, lifting his chin. She nodded, then looked at the other boys in the cage to keep from staring at the terrible rose and putty-colored scar that crossed Jux's throat and disappeared behind his ear. How old was he? 7? 8? Someone had already tried to cut his throat. And now, Somas had put him in a cage. Sadima thought she heard a sound and turned, hoping to see Franklin's lantern, a tiny amber star shining from across the darkness of the big cavern. But he wasn't back. Not yet. She drew another symbol for the boys to copy, then another. It was a long time before Franklin finally returned, his back bent under the weight of the supplies he was carrying. Sadima jumped up and walked toward the light of his lantern, leaving her own behind to have both hands free to help him. He kissed her. She closed her eyes to feel the touch of his lips more clearly. He would sleep all day, then be gone again at dark. Dawn and dusk, these were the only moments they had together now. "I miss you," she started to say it, but he spoke first. "Has Somas come out of his chamber?" Sadima took one of the heavy bags from him, hitched it over her shoulder. "No." Franklin nodded. "Good. He's angry about something." "At you?" He shrugged. "I don't know." But he did know. She could tell. Chapter 2. I wiped my aching eyes. The history book was dull as dirt. I was sick of reading about the brilliant founder, and our little chamber was filled with acrid lamp smoke. The stone walls were coated in oily soot. I slammed the book down. Gerard flinched. "Be quiet, Hahp." I glanced at him across the narrow aisle that separated our cots. He was cross-legged, facing away from me as always, studying. He reached up to rub his eyes. How long had it taken the wizards to realize that soot-clotted lamps could torture students? 3 years? A century? And of course they were doing this to us now, when we had to read constantly to memorize the songs. It was like the sackcloth robes that had rubbed our skin off in bloody patches, like never getting to eat enough, sleep enough, make a friend, or anything else that would have eased the constant fear. Everything the wizards did fit together as precisely as the bronze and copper pulleys on my father's collection of crossbows. The wizards made it hard to study, nearly impossible to learn. I was starting to wonder how long it had been since anyone had graduated from the Limmery Academy. 10 years? 50? I felt the familiar rush of fear and anger mixed, and glanced at Gerard again. His hair was tied back with a twist of threads he'd pulled from his robe hem. He'd been the first to do it. I had tried to make scissors 4 or 5 times and couldn't. I don't know if anyone else had tried, but I had given up. Most of us tied